When you look at construction litigation and the amount of lawsuits that exist, communication is actually the core of most of them.
All right, this one's an interesting one, Amelia, because like you would know very well with all the work you do with homeowners and stuff that dealing and communicating with a builder can be very frustrating. It's not something that even is on our radar. Like we're taught to be builders, and so it can get very frustrating. It can lead to a lot of issues and things. So, like, do you have any tips for builders on ways that they can better communicate to help set expectations with their clients and what to consider?
I think the first thing is actually realising how critical it is to your ability to be a good builder and to have good relationships with everybody that you're working with. You know, we're not taught as humans how to communicate. It's something that we learn, you know, incidentally through our life. Sometimes we might benefit from some formal education around it. But when you look at construction litigation and the amount of lawsuits that exist, communication is actually the core of most of them. The problems with communication is what sits at the base of most construction litigation. And when it comes to building a home and a homeowner who's perhaps never done this before and might only do this once or twice in their life, they can walk into that process. And as a builder, I think you can fall into the trap of believing that there's a bunch of things that the homeowner is supposed to already know. You can make a whole series of assumptions about what there is. Homeowners can also make assumptions about how they think the process can go based on what self-education they've done or where they've got their information from. And unless that communication is actually happening in an open, honest, transparent way on a regular basis, you just can end up in really messy places very, very quickly. And these small problems, what I see time and time again is small little niggles for homeowners that really could have been dealt with a very simple phone call or conversation, escalate into these big, big challenges for builders to have to deal with. And we see it time and time again.
Just opens up big cans of worms.
And builders just getting themselves into so much trouble because they didn't know how to communicate effectively. I see two homeowners that really worried about being too confrontational. A lot of homeowners will enter that relationship with a builder really nervous to speak their mind, particularly if they're female and they're working inside this male-dominated industry. They can struggle to feel like they have a voice. Some builders obviously make the mistake of not acknowledging them in the conversation. They'll deal mainly with the husband if they're working with a couple. And so you can just get all of these situations just can build and build and build. And at the end of the day, communication is this underlying foundation that really needs to be worked on for builders. And if they're not working on it on a regular basis, then it can cause some dramas. Yeah,
like I said, I definitely don't think it's something that's on our radar. Like we know we have to use contracts, we know we have to price the jobs up. Hopefully builders know they need to schedule jobs and things, but actually learning and understanding about communicating is like I think we probably take it for granted. And to be honest, I think probably a lot of builders avoid it because they just want to get the job built. And they probably feel that communicating with their clients gives the client, I guess, more opportunity to ask questions, request variations, wonder what's going on with their work. So they probably try and avoid it. But what's the 5 modes of communication that you can tell the builders about?
Yeah, so this is actually a really great thing to remember. It's something I teach homeowners about. I was personally taught it as a young architect working at Mirvac, and we were taught it as a team, and it transformed the way that we worked as a team, transformed the way that we did business. And so I see that it's something that is really simple to remember and fantastically empowering in terms of thinking about communication. So I was taught this by an executive coach, Josie Thompson, and she told us that the 5 modes of communication are vision, planning, detail, problem and drama. So if you see those in a list, vision, planning, detail, problem and drama, You need to understand that all communication happens at one of these levels. So it doesn't matter what communication, it can go into one of these 5 buckets.
Well, I'm thinking there's one there that most builders would know about.
Yeah, drama and problem. Now, the thing to know about communication is that the way in which you communicate is generally the communication you get back. So if you're communicating in vision or planning, you will often get vision and planning back. That's generally the tone of communication you get back. If you're communicating in detail, you'll get detail back. Same thing with problem and drama.
Yeah.
And you'll have a friend who literally comes and every time they see you, they just download all the drama in their life, and you find yourself getting sucked into that vortex of, oh, yeah, and it becomes this comparison Olympics of who's in the most trouble at the moment, Now, when you think about those 5 modes of communication, if you put a number against each of them, so number 1 is vision, number 2 is planning, then you've got 3, 4 and 5 as detail, problem and drama. I want you to draw a line between 2 and 3, okay? So we've got above the line of vision and planning and below the line of detail, problem and drama. If you want to make progress with your communication, if you want to move things forward and solve problems, you actually need to get your communication above the line.
Yeah, right.
And so the goal of your conversations, of your communication as a builder and working with people, and this can happen, I've actually told homeowners this and they've gone, oh my gosh, I'm going to try this with my kids, I'm going to try this with my workmates, your goal is to get the communication above the line. Now, that doesn't mean that every conversation is always about vision and planning. Sometimes you will have to talk in detail, problem and drama because that's the nature of the conversation. Sometimes those things are needed to nut things out. But to know that to make steps forward, you need to get back up to vision and planning and get above the line in that. There's one way that you get the conversation above the line, and it's to ask the person a question. And the question is, what do you want to achieve? What are you seeking to achieve? So if somebody is talking in detail, problem, drama, and you find that you're just going round and round in circles and you can't get them out of it, asking them that question of what are you seeking to achieve forces them to get themselves up to vision and planning. And it was really, when we were taught this, we all laughed and went, yeah, look, I could see in principle it would work. I could see that might be helpful, but, who talks like that? And what we did as an architectural team at Mirvac was we had weekly meetings with all of the project managers of all the projects in Mirvac Design. And so we had these 5 bullet points up on the wall in a laminated little piece of paper, and we had all done this training. And so we would then go around and talk about the various projects. And there were some architects that always got stuck in detail, problem and drama. And so we started then saying, okay, so what are you actually trying to achieve? What's going on here? What are you trying to achieve? And that would force them to go, well, I'm wanting to do this. And so then we could all put our heads together about what would work, what would that look like? What ended up happening was over time, we just started going above the line. And it was really fascinating because as a team, that just became our way of talking with each other. We then took it into the development team. We took it and right through the business.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I've taught this to homeowners and they can see that, oh yeah, I can see I get stuck in detail, problem and drama in a site meeting because I'm so nervous about my house. I'm worried that the builder's not sorting things, or I'm worried that he's not taking care of me or she's not taking care of me. But if you can get that back up to above the line and actually, call those builders. So, okay, what are you seeking to achieve? That builder immediately has to start talking in vision and planning, and that can make a really big difference to your communication overall.
Yeah, no, that is a fantastic tip and some very simple ways for you to get better communication with your clients.